Right now, some roads and trails at the Laurel Hill Wildlife Management area is closed for logging operations. Just so you know, if you were intending to go over there, Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, TWRA, shared the map of what areas will be restricted or closed. They say trail riders, anglers, and hunters should be careful, as heavy equipment and trucks will be present on some roads and trails within the WMA. Several horseback riding trails are temporarily closed as crews work in the area. Officials say they'll continue to share updates as operations progress.